everybody. Let's see. Are we on for the clicker? Maybe not. There we go. Oh wow, the white didn't show up. That's actually an envelope. I'm Brandon Bruce. I'm the co-founder of Cirrus Insight. Most of my team has spent this week out at Dreamforce in San Francisco. Salesforce's big conference draws about 200,000 people. But I lucked out in getting an email from Felix who invited me here to a warehouse in Brooklyn to hang out with 200 people. And I like it much, much better. And I think one of the reasons for that is that I grew up in a very, very small town. So this is the grade school that I went to. It's called the Family School. And I graduated first or second in my class of 2. No running water, right? Toilets, outhouses out there, so it's out in the sticks. And it's conveniently located, strangely, directly across the street from Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. The elementary school was there first, and then he moved in after. I'm a cyclist, avid cyclist. I love biking. It was cool to see the bike path going past Prospect Park here in Brooklyn. Years ago, I did a 508-mile race across Death Valley. It took about 35 hours and 7 minutes with a short nap before sunrise, which turns out to be very good for your body. It tricks it into thinking you've slept all night. So for those of you interested in long-distance cycling, come down and visit. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, so our company is based there. All right. We've got 35 folks with me in Knoxville, about 35 with my co-founder Ryan in Irvine, California. Has anybody here been down to Knoxville? Awesome. It's rising in the software ranks. There's some neat things happening in Knoxville. For one, we have the most visited national park in the country, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. That surprises a lot of people, outranks Yosemite and Yellowstone, but in part because it's free. Set up by the Vanderbilts and Rockefellers, and they said it always has to be free. So it is. We've also got some neat things happening from a corporate perspective. Pilot Flying J is based there. Warren Buffett just bought that. They run about $20 billion a year and are the #1 provider of diesel fuel across the United States. We're also the 3rd largest media market, which surprises a lot of folks. So New York and Los Angeles create the most content. Knoxville's #3. And the reason for that is it's the headquarters of Scripps Network Interactive, which creates Travel Channel, HGTV, all those other shows that you watch on cable. And Discovery is actually buying them in the first quarter of next year. Yes, over this way, into the light. And then this is something probably many of you, if not all of you, have never heard of. Knoxville is located right next to what's called the Secret City. It was established in the early 1940s for the Manhattan Project. So it's in a little town called Oak Ridge, and it's where they enriched the uranium for the atomic bombs. So this, at the time that it was built, this is the K-25 building, doesn't exist anymore, but was the largest building in the world and consumed about 17% of the United States electricity back in the 40s. So a lot of stuff happened in Knoxville during that time. The TVA is located there, so they generate a lot of electricity locally. And it still maintains the nuclear arsenal and does a lot of cybersecurity. So it was cool to hear the panel earlier talking about phishing, because a lot of the research that happens for cybersecurity happens in Knoxville. So the company I work for, we surprised ourselves a couple years ago by making the Inc. 500 list. That was something they sent us an email and said, hey, you're number 41. And we thought that's pretty awesome, because we're a pretty small company. We're just focused on operations and providing a good service. But mostly I think it's because we've kept it really simple. We're a plugin. You can install Cirrus Insight in Gmail or in Outlook in 2 clicks. So we've really grown from the bottom up. Salespeople install our application primarily in Gmail, increasingly in Outlook, Office 365 as that's gotten popular, to basically help them be more productive, to save time, make them more effective at sales. So what does it do? This is mostly white, so it's a little tricky to see, but that is Cirrus Insight in the side panel of Gmail. So it's essentially, yes? All right, good enough, directional. What it does is it has a real-time connection with Salesforce. So we're a Salesforce partner, and we stream all the customer information in from Salesforce into your inbox. You basically never have to log into the CRM anymore, which turns out makes salespeople quite happy, because people hate connecting to a database. We also do email tracking, so similar to the MailChimp, Mailguns, et cetera, all the newsletters that get sent out. We use the same pixel tracking technology to tell salespeople when folks have opened your email or not. Email templates. So it's really taking a lot of the things that were created for marketing and marketing automation and we like to say it's kind of a hero complex. We're democratizing those and letting salespeople use that same tech in their inbox to send out email campaigns, drip campaigns, et cetera. The screenshot's actually also showing my favorite feature, which is the ability to insert your calendar availability into an email so that your customer can choose a convenient time for them and then book the meeting straight away without replying to the message. So in the previous panel, I was talking about the interactive inbox. That's been one of our most successful features because it facilitates the scheduling of sales appointments. So the old way was kind of double entry calendaring, BCCing emails into CRM, things like that. The new way is kind of combining all those old features into one new platform, and it saves people a lot of time. And lastly, we just acquired a company. We'll make the announcement on Tuesday that does document tracking, which we're excited about. So rather than sending attachments, our customers won't have to send attachments anymore. So instead of putting a slide deck or a PDF or a Word doc or a contract proposal, et cetera, onto an email, they'll instead upload it into our system. We'll put a link into the email. And then when their customers click through, they'll be able to see the customer in real time, reading through the deck, and be able to call them and say, hey, do you have any questions on the contract? Let's get that signed. And so with that, I will turn it over to Tara, who leads email for the Zilla Group.
Thank you. Hold it like this. Okay. Oh, that's bright. Uh-oh, we're in the wrong order. Am I introducing you, Vivek? All right. Everybody, Vivek from Movable Ink.
That was another magic trick. She just turned herself into an Indian man. So, ta-da! I've never been to Tennessee, but I figure now just meeting you that it's like Holland and everyone's like 6'6", so I'll look for that when I'm down there. My name is Vivek Sharma. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Movable Ink. And we started the company about 6 or 7 years ago, and one of the things we observed is, for marketers, you're spending all of your time, thinking about, what kind of list, how you're going to segment people, are your emails going to be delivered in the inbox? There's a lot of planning, which campaigns, when do you send it? Is Tuesday at 10 a.m. as hot as it was last year? So there's a lot of thought about this stuff, but strangely, the experience of what happens right before, the experience of what happens right when you open that email in just milliseconds, faster than your brain even realizes it, is what people react to and respond to. They don't care about your content calendar and what list they're on, and your brain is able to understand imagery at about 60,000 times the speed of text. So really fast, you're having this experience and it's working for you or it's not. So experience is everything. And to us, experience is content, and that means content is everything. And this is what we really focused on, innovating, and it felt like none of the marketing clouds, none of the ESPs were really focused on this area, and they were trying to get emails deployed very efficiently. So we pioneered this space, and this is an example of an email that we powered for Dunkin' Donuts many years ago, and it's a very simple example to understand, where the email, the moment you opened it, it would actually detect the weather outside. And so if it was 90 degrees outside, there's an offer for a cold brew iced coffee. And if it's like 15 degrees outside, hot piping cup of cappuccino would show up there. So very easy to understand. There were examples like this that caught the attention of marketers, very easy to understand, to process. Still a little bit of the bane of my existence. There was one company that asked for, they were trying to do countdown timers in emails, and they've been struggling with this. And we said, yeah, I think we can pull that off. And now, literally every conversation starts with a countdown timer, which is it has driven everyone crazy. There's a lot more than countdown timers that you can do. And part of that is, we've really discovered in the last 18 months, is companies have a ton of data on their consumers, and there's lots of APIs that they're also working with. And we made it really easy. For example, in this United Airlines example, 3 hours before your flight, you get this triggered email, and up pops a live seating chart. If you're like me, you're not a big fan of flying in coach, you're not looking forward to it, and an extra 6 inches, maybe an extra 10 inches of legroom for you would make it a completely different flight. Completely different. So United is aware of this, and so right in there for another $39, you could spring for the Economy Plus, and it's got exactly which seats are available. And 20 minutes later, maybe there's only 2 seats available. Another 20 minutes later, hey, they're sold out, but why not purchase Wi-Fi before your flight? So it's really making that consumer experience so much more enjoyable, and United's been able to do that by also boosting their revenue, boosting the performance of this campaign. So this is the that Move Link is so hot right now slide. This is kind of a joke for me because 6 or 7 years ago, I actually had the CEO of an email service provider tell me what we were trying to do was impossible, and if it were possible, he would have done it years ago. And we didn't know a ton about email, so I'm glad we kind of blindly forged ahead because it turned out we were onto something. And this year alone, we're powering over 275 billion intelligent content impressions, which our minds would have melted if we thought about this that many years ago. So this has gone really mainstream. There's over 400 brands. Companies like Nike are doing this with us, Gap, Hilton, American Express. eBay was up here earlier. They're doing a lot with movable ink in a very effective way. So this is it's a mainstream concept right now. And we try to make this really easy. There's a lot of really interesting things you could do with intelligent content, but it's not so interesting if it's hard to do. So just this year, we launched a new interface which has the ease of use of PowerPoint with the sophistication and power of Photoshop to be able to manipulate content and layers and different data sources. And in fact, that was the next innovation, which was pulling in any sort of data source, any API you have. A CSV file can act as a data source. This could be your web page turned into an API, turned into a data source, powering all of the personalization and optimization. Importantly, that you're also optimizing to find the piece of content that works best for you. This has been really well received, and the next step we took was around tapping consumer behaviors in every email. So you might be browsing around a website, there's so many signals you're giving off about your behavior, and your existing campaigned emails can completely transform. And if I'm looking at hotel and travel packages, if I'm looking at Barcelona, the hero creative, the recommendations, places I might want to go visit, famous churches, all that automatically populates inside my email. And so we've done something similar with a luxury retailer where the entire email, again, is transformed if you're looking at rings, hero creative, recommendations, et cetera, et cetera. And lastly, we realized there's a bottleneck just to get emails out the door. You're dealing with 20 campaigns, 30 campaigns. And so we built a tool called Builder that ingests a Photoshop file, and it spits out fully responsive, email-compliant HTML in about 15 minutes. So you don't have to go manually code this stuff. You can if you like to. If you're boning up on email-compliant HTML, have at it. But if you're not a big fan of that, we have a tool for it called Builder. So this is what Movable Ink does, and we're happy to talk to you and excited to be on this panel. And let me turn it over to the next speaker, which I have no idea who that is. And whoever I pick, it's going to be someone different. So, Cher Fuller.
Thank you. Hello. Goodness. Oh my gosh. I just found out some of my fonts got messed up, so while my designers back home will probably be horrified that I created this deck by myself, now it's even worse, guys. Thanks. My name is Cher Fuller. I work at an agency called eRoy in Portland, Oregon, which is this one, not this one. We deal with email, web, and social for a bunch of fun brands. This is some of them. And I work full-time on Taco Bell. So I am a senior strategist for Taco Bell. I have written their one-to-one messaging program, so all of the emails, SMS, or push that you ever get from Taco Bell came from this thinker. When I started out with email, this is what it looked like. And so I was like, we can do better, guys. This is not on brand. This is not what your users expect, and they expect a better experience. So what we did was move it into this more enjoyable format where people were looking forward to the emails that we got. And we started to see that our open rates and our click-through rates were great, but we wanted to kind of play more to the people that we actually are marketing to, which are gamers. So we found a way to put gamification inside our emails. And so this is kind of known as like the Taco Bell email, because apparently you can't dev on the Z-index anymore. So what we did was create some characters with fixed positioning when Taco Bell launched their breakfast menu, and show what a day in the life would be like if you had Taco Bell breakfast versus if you didn't. And a fun fact, all of these characters are our Taco Bell team back home. And there's me down at the bottom. Hi. Yep, with Ed, who's married, so. And then we actually took this a little bit further for our holiday email. We weren't trying to sell anything. We don't want to be that brand that constantly asks you to buy things. Personally, if someone calls me every single weekend and asks me to help them move, I'm not going to answer their calls anymore. So I don't want to be a brand that constantly asks you to buy things all the time. Sometimes it's just about interaction and having fun and giving you a good experience. So we created this choose your own adventure of how to get to Taco Bell, playing off the nostalgia of board games. All your friends are back home. You're probably stuck listening to your uncle's stories during Christmas time. How fast can you get to Taco Bell? So we have established email as the top converting channel for the brand above social by focusing on users as human beings and realizing that humans are different and they have different needs. Oh, it's vibrating. Because when you know someone, you talk to them differently. And that's a really important fact for us, is we want to know who we're talking to so that we're serving up information that makes the most sense for them, and we're speaking to them like a friend. We always want to be giving them information that's kind of like the cool friend. It's giving you the tips and tricks about what you should be doing or the newest products. And if someone gives you their email address, which is basically an invited front row seat to their face, you better make it fucking good. For them. So what's our Taco Bell vision? What are we doing with them? We focus on one-to-one messaging as part of the omni-channel journey for the user by pairing data analytics, behavioral insights, and strategic foresight to create personalized experiences that meet the user where they're at. I heard this I was listening to Freakonomics this morning on a podcast, and one of the guys was saying that data is starting to become like crack cocaine. And I was kind of like, wow, that's true, because that's what I do all day. But I think not crack, data. But something that's really important to call out that I think a lot of us intuitively know, but not enough people say at conferences, is data is great, but behavioral insights and strategic foresight is worth its weight in gold. You can automate all you want, and you can have bots telling you day and night what your users are doing, but if you're not applying critical thinking to that and thinking of these people as human beings, you're gonna start becoming real annoying. So it's really important to add that. So we do this for people whether they're ready to purchase or not, because we believe that brand affinity drives profitability. So our emails, I know I'm going to talk about on a panel about profitability, but I'm also going to tell you to not always sell to your users an email. Yeah. So next up, we're going to bring Nitasha from Boxed. Hopefully, if that's the next slide. Yes.
Hello, my name is Nitasha Mehta, and I head re-engagement at Boxed. I've been at the company for about 2.5 years, and the company itself is only 4 years old, so it's been a really exciting journey to be part of the tremendous growth over the past few years. So what is Boxed? We're devoted to building the smarter way to stock up and save for home, for work, and for life. So Box is the online and mobile version of your wholesale shopping club, but without the membership fees and with free shipping. We offer a super curated selection, and so instead, we do not want to be the everything store. Instead of offering hundreds of thousands of products on our site, we select and handpick the products that we want to display on our site. We don't want 100 different types of toilet papers. All of our products are chosen, tried and tested by our employees. We have a private label brand, Prince and Spring, that offers everything from hangers to quinoa and chia seeds. We just recently launched Fruit Emojis, which is probably our most exciting launch to date. It's exactly what it sounds like, a really tasty fruit snack in the shape of an emoji. And so we have pizza emoji shapes as well as poop ones. Box offers free shipping to the 48 contiguous states for products $49 and above. And so this is really easy for our customers to hit that minimum shipping threshold, especially since our average basket size is about 9 products per order. And so it's super easy for our users to get there, especially when they're stocking up for their families, their offices, or for themselves. Finally, we consider ourselves a really fun and quirky brand, and that's everything from our customer experience all the way through our content. Our customer experience is extremely important to us, and so everything from offering free samples on site to giveaways and goodie bags and a handwritten note in the box itself, to our fun and really quirky content and creative. So you may see this on the subway right now, which we're running a subway campaign for NFL and Thanksgiving. So re-engagement, I'm constantly thinking about how we can better utilize personalization, segmentation, and machine learning into our email strategy, both email as well as push, SMS, programmatic direct mail, most recently as well. And so not only one of my priorities, but also a huge priority for the company overall. An example of a super simple concept of a campaign that has performed extremely well for us in terms of revenue, even though there are no products at all displayed in this campaign, is a thank you trigger. And so this goes to customers 7 days after they made a purchase, so we're still top of mind. They're starting to enjoy the products that they've purchased with a really cute dog, our office dog Maui, so that increases engagement rates right away. And some dynamic movable ink content that we're using to display real-time account information. And so this is such an easy concept for a campaign, but one of our best performing in terms of revenue. Welcome back triggers are also a great way to engage with customers that have not either visited our site or opened their app over a specific period of time. And so not being super creepy, like, hey, we haven't seen you in a while, but in a much more subtle way, displaying the new products that we've launched over the past month that they may have missed while they haven't visited our site. Smart Stock Up is something that our data science team has been working on for quite some time, and this is using machine learning to predict when our users are planning or most likely will run out of their products and are planning to stock up. And so we'll trigger a send a week or two before our customer might run out of a particular item, and then they have the opportunity to either add to cart directly from that email, snooze for another time if it's too early, or dismiss if it wasn't relevant. Maybe it was a one-time purchase or they were purchasing for someone else. Okay. I don't know what happens. I think this might not be working. Oh, okay. So what's next? We're constantly involving our customers in everything that we launch. And so with Smart Stock Up, utilizing surveys to really understand why they are adding to cart or snoozing or dismissing that particular product, utilizing a more personalized experience with banners and products, both on-site, in-app, as well as in email. And then obviously our ultimate goal is for a completely dynamic experience. So users have a completely different experience based on their specific behavior within the app, on-site, and in email. Thank you. Oops. Next up is Tara.
Thank you. Oh. I'm back. I know why this is happening. It's because I didn't send my slides until like 4 o'clock yesterday. So that's embarrassing. I deserve this. Do you not have them? All right. Well, here's what they said. Some of you who were with me at EIQ last spring will recognize some of this. So I'm Tara. I'm the director of email for Zillow, headquartered in Seattle. I cannot see. Okay, right there. Headquartered in Seattle. Zillow is one of many companies now in the Zillow Group family of companies. I work primarily on the Zillow business. We are in the business not of selling through the inbox. And so when Felix contacted me about doing this panel, I said, you know, we don't sell the homes themselves, right? Zillow is a marketplace, which means that we are a place where consumers are coming to conduct business and merchants are going to find consumers. The part in that we have is facilitating mostly of the finding of homes. Woo! All right. Okay, so a couple things. At Zillow, we believe fundamentally that people need to be empowered with information. Real estate, in particular, was one of the last great nuts to crack in terms of empowering people with information that had previously been unavailable. And so Zillow is in the business of providing that information for people. The other thing we believe in fundamentally is that a home, a place to live, is a fundamental human right. And so we are a team on the marketing side of humans helping facilitate that journey for people as they use Zillow. So this is the part I was talking about, the EIQ attendees from last spring. I like to use this home analogy kind of throughout the overview of what our job is. We are the team of architects and builders on the marketing side that are help rounding out the experience. And so you can see here some of what we own, which is the content and lifecycle marketing. We partner with engineering teams to round out the slate of operational emails that are running, which is the vast majority of our volume, super transactional stuff that is literally you're looking for a home with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in this neighborhood for this price. So that, again, is the vast majority of what people use Zillow for. My team works on sort of sticking with you through the valleys of that home buying, home renting, home financing experience, and adding a more human element to that journey. Okay. So if you do use Zillow, some of this might look familiar to you. This is sort of the strong foundation, sticking with the home analogy. These are some of our more popular operational emails, as I said, where you're getting homes that you've asked for, homes that we think you might like, update on your home, changes in mortgage rates in your area. And as I said, this is 90% sort of what people are used to getting from Zillow. And then these are the more personal touches, the interior decorating, if you will. And this is a lot of where my team spends its time. And as I said, this is sort of meant to sustain you and add a more human element to your relationship with Zillow throughout your home search process. And so there's everything here from how to better prepare to be a smarter renter or a smarter owner or get your credit in order or how to remodel more quickly or our stab at sort of what everyone is doing, which is here's a recap of all the things you did on Zillow last month. The way that we make use of our nuggets of finding is putting these little red stickers on things as we then go share them with the org and say, hey, we can make this better. We think people like this one. We can make it better if you give us more data or if we scale this out to a wider audience or if you operationalize it, then we're off and running. So a lot of times we'll take what we find here in terms of human activity, or the things that people are responding to and the human element, and then, sort of highlighting larger scale opportunities for the company. I think I have one more click. It's not responding to me. There we go. And then I think this might be my last one. These are all of the ways that we're tracking all of the things that we do. You know, we've come a long way. I've been at Zillow 7 years. We've come a long way in terms of how we personalize the journey of home for you. But there's a lot we still want to do, and we're keeping track of all the changes and successes and failures in all of the normal ways. A whole slate of JIRA tickets, sort of strong pillars that we work to build out every quarter, your usual traffic metrics, and then also maps so that we can keep track of what you look like to us when you're a renter versus a buyer versus a mortgage shopper. So all of this is all of the ways that my team is using to get smarter all the time. That might be my last one. It's all right. Thank you, Felix. Every time I click this, Felix just does something else. So thank you, Felix. Is it the last one? It might be the last one. All right. Well, if you use Zillow, thank you. I'm interested to sit on the panel with everyone else and hear a little bit more about how we're all working on this stuff. So thank you. Curious.
Cool. Well, we'll start it off with a first question, and then hopefully you all have some questions from the audience, and we'll send a microphone around. The question that struck me listening to everybody's presentation is, when should you personalize and when should you not, if ever? And the reason I'm thinking that is one of our most successful salespeople had a one-way phone script, and it puzzled us for like a week. But it was the opposite of personalized. He would call, and he would say, hi, would you like to do a demo of Cirrus Insight? And if they said yes, he would say, great, how about Wednesday at 10 o'clock? And we said, okay, run it the other way. So he said, hi, would you like to do a demo of Cirrus Insight? And the person says, no. And he says, great, how about Wednesday at 10 o'clock? And it was remarkably effective. And that killed us, because it wasn't personalized at all. It's like he wasn't listening to the person he was talking to. He didn't care. But it was really effective, and we ended up boiling it down to, you know, sort of the person that asks you, hey, you've got someone mentioned moving. Hey, you have a truck, will you help me move? And it's like, oh no, I'm busy Saturday. But if they say, what about 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday? Then it's hard to say you're busy. So by being specific, they were unwilling to lie specifically, and they would schedule the appointment. So anyway, a long intro to when do you like to personalize, and when is it better to do a general brand affinity type of message?
Well, I think that personalization is really important in the long run, but a lot of times when we're testing, we want to be able to have comparable tests. So sometimes the things that we are doing in terms of product launches or things that are kind of a blanket send to everybody will be more that singular approach of sending something that has testing elements in it so that we can do comparative testing against each other. But then we extract those elements and those learnings and then can apply them into the personalized sense.
Well, I think there's obviously room for both. People respond to our sort of large-scale, sort of generic marketing. You know, the stuff that we're sort of curating that we think is interesting, especially in email, as much as they are the personalized stuff, really. With regard to specifically how Zillow should answer that question, I think we should personalize as it relates to your journey of home as much as we can. It's often difficult for us. We have hundreds of sets of data coming in to Zillow, MLS feeds. There are hundreds of MLSs around the country, and so that's where our data comes from. We have publicly available county data, and so as we ingest all these data sources, there are things that we know and things that we think we know, and then obviously the actions that users are taking in apps or on the web. So the best that we can do at personalization is acknowledging a home that we think you like or a home that we think might be yours because you visit it, I don't know, 20 times in the month after it just sold and it's no longer for sale. Then we can maybe infer that we think it's yours and you bought it and we'd like to congratulate you. So there are guesses we can make on personalization, and then bigger swings, obviously. But home in particular is incredibly personal. And so as much as we can personalize that particular journey for people, then that's where we're going to try to do that.
Ideally, we would utilize personalization in everything. It may not be as in your face as within the body of the email itself, but potentially in the header or the footer, just with real-time account information or how many products you currently have in your cart at that moment in time. Our strategy is really twofold, where we really focus a lot on content, and so social is really important to us. We have a really fantastic content team in-house that manages our blog as well, and so we're sending weekly batch and blast to all of our users with content-focused messaging, as well as deals-focused messaging, but then we're also targeting users based on what affinity or product affinity they've displayed. So if they've shown a 2x above average interest in a specific product or category, then we're only targeting those specific users for those campaigns.
I think people want to say don't personalize as much because it makes life easier for them. But the reality is you could probably be personalizing far more often than you think. And if you have any data on an individual, that's when you personalize. You have little bits of information. And our argument is, even if you're way up funnel when someone's just opening an email, there are implicit signals people are giving off, which is the time when they're opening that email. Are they generally on an iPhone, on the go? Do they live in a cold weather region? So even if they're not explicitly telling you these things or clicking around on your website and telling you in that way, even further up funnel, there are some of these signals you can use. Now, the argument I usually hear is, we don't have the bandwidth. It's hard enough to get emails out the door in 20 or 30, and now you're asking me to create millions of versions of this stuff. And I'd probably go back to kind of this era of brand advertising where you had this mass reach, but people were painstakingly thinking about every word. If you're Peggy Olson sitting with Don Draper, you're thinking about every single word and how you craft it and what emotional response that's going to drive. So I think we're just entering a different world today where performance marketing had its heyday, but hey, wouldn't it be great if you could combine that emotional resonance of brand advertising with the power, reach, testing capability of performance marketing? And so I think a fundamental part of pulling that off is, if you can find ways to automate that and take the load off humans to have to do that, it just becomes much easier for you.
Questions from the audience. I have more that I can ask, but do you all have questions? We have about 10 minutes left in the panel, so I want to give you all a chance to ask any questions you might have. Oh, there come the lights. Anybody with questions? All right, I'll jump back in. So you talked about letting some automation do the work, some of the machine learning, the AI. Examples that you all have from your work when AI worked, and then any examples you have where it didn't work, or where you decided not to use it because you ran some tests and, hey, this isn't happening, we're not going to send this out.
Well, I can say that the breakfast email that I showed did horrible. It was like one of our worst at the time converting emails because day-parted items, there's a very small window. So, I mean, in terms of automation, automation's a whole other story for Taco Bell, which is kind of coming up in the future, which I can't really talk about. But for the email program as it exists right now, it's about figuring out what works best for that audience and then kind of reiterating on it every single time and taking the learnings from the last send and applying them to the next one. So one of the things, though, that it became one of our worst failures but became one of our best successes is that the experience that the users were having within the email was so fun for them that they were coming back to it. And so one thing I would want to add for people that are looking about how to maximize profit in the inbox is don't discount your emails after they go out. Come back to them and see how they're doing in the long run, because that worst email that we did has now made over $30,000 because people kept going back to it and kept going back to it and sending it to their friends because the interaction of it was so much fun. So while we learned a good lesson about freaking breakfast time, we also learned about what our users liked and what they were into, and that like low commitment clicks of interaction were just as valuable as the high commitment clicks of getting people to click through and purchase.
I think our best and worst is the same answer. We've gotten significantly better in the past 6 to 9 months at recommending homes. The first swing that we took of that was sort of the the quick and hacky version because we thought it felt appropriate, and we could see that people weren't getting enough results in certain areas, low inventory or very strict criteria. And so we can just see when people are sort of missing out on, oh, you know, you're supposed to get a daily email with results or instant emails even with homes in them that meet your criteria. If we can see that you're not getting that, then we want to try and widen the criteria. And so our first swing at that wasn't very good. We got better at it, at this sort of machine learning recommendation model by ironically adding much more human capital to invest in that. And so we had to dramatically build out a team of data scientists specifically working on understanding what to recommend and to build those models and to tweak those models. And so that's like been a super interesting journey for us in terms of personalization.
I think when launching any new automation or machine learning algorithms, there'll always be some hiccups. And obviously, over time, as the algorithms become smarter, then we can surface more relevant and personalized and strong content. And so we definitely did see quite a few hiccups when we first launched our Smart Stockup program, but that's where utilizing and really involving our customer feedback is hugely important to us and helpful for our own algorithms in creating smarter and more relevant content.
As a software vendor, I'm probably saying something a little contrarian, but forget the AI and machine learning stuff right away. I think there's a lot of automation things you could do just around some heuristics you have, like if someone's living up in the Northeast or the West, or you've got content sitting in CSVs and spread out all over the place. Just create some processes that automate some of the mundane stuff that you're not spending 25 hours a week doing this, because marketing is a creative art, and there's a lot of creativity in your heads, and if you're spending all of your time just doing the mundane stuff that machines are better at, you're not sitting there really understanding your customer and being able to whiteboard and think up clever ideas, really creative things that you could go execute on. So I'd say, first step, get your time back. Really just automate that mundane stuff that there's no reason a human needs to do in 2017 or beyond.
All right, Chad, if you have a question. For us, I think to answer my own question, the successes that we've seen around selling in the inbox have been primarily around timing. And so a lot of our sales process is a result of we see that they opened a particular web page or particular document, or that they're looking at the email, and so we'll call them. And we'll say, hey, we're just curious if you had any feedback on the contract. And then it's, well, what a coincidence, I'm looking at the contract. It's not a coincidence, we know you're looking at it. And so we want to redline it right now and hopefully get it signed. The things that I've seen that I think are a little bit dangerous are sort of personalization for the sake of personalization and outsourcing the entire sales process. So the emails that I will get where the person is essentially offloading me to a bot to getting meetings scheduled is a weird process. Has anyone received those emails before where it's a fake virtual assistant that's emailing with you trying to schedule, and it gets kind of weird because if you ask them a non-scheduling question, they have no idea what you're talking about because they're not real. And I think that's kind of dangerous because that can alienate the customer. I've also started getting more emails around, hi Brandon, I see you're in Knoxville. Have you ever gone to the Tennessee Theater? And I have no idea who this person is, and so it's personalized. They know I'm in Knoxville, and they know that we have a theater called the Tennessee Theater, but it's more eerie than it is personalized because we don't have a relationship yet. So thinking about, I guess, quality, quantity, how much do you guys rely on sending out? How much is it a numbers game? Taco Bell has a huge mailing list, I'm sure. So how much is it just, let's make sure we get it out to, if we get a certain message out of a certain quality to this many millions of people, it's going to be okay, it's going to work out, versus how much micro-targeting are you doing and sending out really small batches?
Our micro batches are kind of more around sample testing. So a lot of the things that we're learning in terms of what our users want, what they're telling us about themselves, those specific types of tests that we're doing within the email to start to do progressive profiling and pull out personalization is being done in more smaller batches so that we can extract learnings from different geographical locations and how people are interacting on different devices. But I would say right now we're at a time where we are taking our learnings from those micro sends and then applying them to the larger sends and making sure that they're successful based on the data that we're seeing from our testing. Just like they do in food innovation and food launches. You know, their test market is in Toledo, Ohio, which is so weird and random, but you know, they'll test a product out there and then see how people like it, and then it gets launched to market. So just like that, you know, we are taking those test sends and those test different learning agendas that we have within the company and learning what the people want, what they want to see, what they don't want to see, and then applying that across our marketing sends as a whole.
Time's up. Thank you, everybody.